Welcome back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tucker.
And I'm Emerlie.
All right. Well, we are going to be continuing our conversation about Majora's Mask, and we're going to insert this at some random part in the episode. We have no idea when. This is going to be edited in post. Emerlie's going to make that arbitrary decision whenever it makes sense. All right. Let's continue.
It'll be seamless and perfect, and you won't recognize it at all.
Definitely a lot about ghost hands and toilet paper.
Yeah. We're going to insert it directly into the center of just some arbitrary banter about toilet ghosts or chicken eggs or being cuckolded, something like that.
You're in for quite a treat. Smash cut.
Let's just keep moving on then. So, Great Bay area, very clearly representing depression. When you get to the Great Bay, the music is sad. There's like crows in the air. The ocean doesn't look like green or like blue and happy. It looks kind of like green and weird. And it's just like you get there and it's just, it's like a kind of a gross bummer of an area. Like when you feel depressed, when you feel like you're in this pit, you just kind of like, ugh. And this area, the whole area feels like that. And not just that, the characters that you meet are all really like just not having a great go of it. You when you come across the Zora that you end up healing, Mikau, he's feeling very full of regret for what led him to this moment. He and Lulu, the other singer of the band, they had some eggs. The eggs got stolen. He went to go rescue the eggs and he's dying. So he's full of sadness and regret for not being able to finish that. And Lulu, the mother of these eggs, has in this huge depressed state. And so like she can't even speak because she's so upset. And so I think that this is another one where the comparisons are really clear that this is, depression. Yeah, everything about Great Bay screams depression.
Remind me what happened to these eggs. Are they being smuggled across the border to fetch a heavy price because the Gerudos are having a tough time, finding eggs for their own economy
bird
and
flu.
I don't remember.
There's a bird flu that they're dealing with their cuckoos.
Yeah,
a cuckoo flu, if you will.
Cuckoo flu.
There it is. We found it.
There it is.
It took way too long, but we found it.
Hang on. How many other things can I say before I get to the joke? Yeah.
that I didn't have when I started.
Yeah.
Well, there's the cuckoo flu, so you go around slaughtering and, the reign of terror on the cuckoos.
Yeah.
And now there's an egg shortage.
Yeah. So that's why their eggs are,
I don't remember the motivation, but yeah, the eggs have been stolen by the Gerudo pirates, and some of them are with the Gerudo pirates, and then some of them
can
are
relate.
In the Great Sea.
We have egg problems too.
Yeah. Eggs are expensive right now. What was that? I was there. We were at the store the other day, and we were looking at it's because it's close to Easter time, and they had this huge bag of like Easter Reese's eggs, and they were like $3, and I was like, cheaper than regular. We should just let's eat everything with Reese's eggs. They taste better. Gonna make a Reese's egg omelet, save me some money,
One and we just went to Hobby Lobby and we saw like eggs to color, and they were like they were paper mache eggs, and I was like, oh, that makes sense because that would be like a fraction of the cost of real eggs.
Way cheaper than real eggs. I used to make fun of people who like raised their own chickens and stuff. It's like, that's a lot of work for like just eggs. It's like eggs are nothing, and then now eggs are expensive, and I'm like, how much are chickens? Like,
yeah, Tucker has chickens. I'm sure he's like, not, this hasn't phased him at all.
Yeah, we just got 5 more, so we'll have 8. So I'm going to be rolling in eggs.
Eggs for days.
Month.
Bitch be tripping eggs.
Chicken flu. I'm worried about the turtle flu.
Oh, yeah.
the turtle flu? It's a Parks reference.
Yeah,
and chickens are wildly easy, Eric. You could get a little flock. Yeah.
I know, but like then you gotta like have a coop It's,
To be fair,
and that's like a whole. That's like a one thing I have to do, and then you got to feed them. That's two things.
I feed our chickens like once a month, if that.
That's I don't know. It's a lot of commitment.
Didn't
also, to be fair,
die recently?
Was
that a tragedy?
Why do you need to get 5 more chickens, Tucker?
So our neighbor accidentally killed 2 of our chickens by giving them whole pears. So apparently, pear and apple seeds have cyanide in them.
They do,
and so 2 of our chickens that were like at the top of the pecking order just went ham on these whole pears and owned themselves and died.
Well, sounds like they deserved it.
Yeah. And so we went this year. We were going to get 3 or 4 more to replace them. But we went to Cal Ranch and they only had 5 chicks left. I'm like, okay, I can't just leave 1 or 2 in there. So we ended up seeing all 5.
See you later, one chick.
Yeah.
So I had heard, and I did know that apple seeds contain cyanide in them. It's actually, they have a chemical, I forget what it's called, but it mixes with like the digestive acids, it turns into cyanide. And so I had someone when I worked at Jamba Juice.
Oh,
they came in
worst.
And she was like, I can't, because we had a juicer at the time, and you put the whole apple in the Zumex juicer and you juice the whole apple. And like seeds and all, you just juice the whole thing. And she came and was like, I can't believe that's poison. I read on Facebook that blah, 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 blah. And then she gave me this thing where it was like, there's cyanide in apples. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There's no cyanide in apples. And so I looked it up, multiple sources, like I didn't just Google it and then do the first thing. I was like, oh, but multiple sources. And I found, I was like, oh, there is a little bit. And so I had seen her a couple times before. I knew she was going to come in again. And so I was like, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to be ready for this idiot. And I'm
back for you to poison me.
I know. Well, she never ordered the apple juice. She just couldn't believe that we served it to other people. But I did the math.
Wait till you hear about Welch's.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing. I did the math. I figured out, because you have to finely chew and digest the apple seeds. And I estimated, I did some math. I figured out exactly how much of our juice you would have to drink for it to be a lethal dose of cyanide. And it was like 120 gallons or something like that. It was like, and anything below that is not just okay, it's good for you because it helps your stomach develop like antibodies and how to fight things off and stuff. And so she came back in and I told her all of this and she just like, well, I read on Facebook. I was like, well, of course you read on Facebook because you're a dumb idiot. If anyone who reads something off of Facebook and then immediately takes it as gospel, dumb. Don't do that. It's a stupid way to get knowledge. If you read something on Facebook and that you think it's interesting, that's great. Source check it at least one other place, like just to make sure. So that's my cyanide apple juice story.
It's incredible how we have all the information in the world at our fingertips, and yet we don't use it.
Yeah.
You know, we just take things at face value. Just Google it. It's right
one
there.
It takes 5 seconds.
We're the smartest and the dumbest people to ever exist.
Yeah, it's infuriating to me that, you know, we are like 10 seconds away from knowing literally anything, and we'd rather live in absolute stupidity and have people like we would rather have we'd rather be actively lied to by politicians and news reporters and everything, and just absolutely believe it at face value all day, every day. And we are just gated by the laziness of a 10-second Google search. And we just are like, yep, I believe we would rather consume 50 hours of absolute lies or mistruths. And then we turn around and say, well, I just don't have enough time to know the apps. I don't have enough time to look up the truth. 10 seconds as opposed to 50 hours of consuming lies. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, I think Gerald Gardner put it best when he said, but I was going to hang out. Because I feel like that's what we do with our 10 seconds. Instead of that little bit of work, I had plans. I was going to hang out. We were hanging out for those 10 seconds.
Yeah. If you're busy hanging out, that counts as plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
this is a complete off tangent, not about Majora's Mask, but
entertaining nonetheless. Yeah.
it's so infuriating when people say stupid things to me. I'm like, you're so close to the truth. And it's just like, I saw a fantastic quote. I don't even know if it's real. I'm 10 seconds away from knowing.
Yeah, you're 10 seconds away. Shan was hanging out during this 10 seconds.
But Shan saw this thing on Facebook, and he's going to tell it all to us now.
But the difference is that I didn't care about the veracity of the quote. I just liked the quote. And it was like, they attributed it to Keanu Reeves. I don't care if it's from Keanu Reeves. I just like the quote. It was like, you can tell me that 1 + 1 = 5, and I don't, and you're right. I don't care anymore. I go have a happy day. It was,
you do you, man.
I'm paraphrasing. It's like, you do you. It's like, you're, these days you're right. Just go live your life.
Hold on, Shan, is it you that has the aunt or relative that is dating Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Emerlie
Yes, it
and
is.
I have an aunt who is being actively pig butchered by somebody who is pretending to be Keanu Reeves.
Is pig butcher just a grosser way of saying catfish?
Yes.
It is, yeah. So somebody who's assuming somebody's identity to scam them into giving their bank account information to take all of their money from them. And no amount of saying, hey, look at these 100 articles that say all of these old lonely women are having their bank account information stolen by Keanu Reeves will convince her that she's one of them. And there's Brad Pitt, there's Keanu Reeves, there's it's just like all of these, all of the hottest men in Hollywood
Why
are
would they
scamming
pick famous
these
people
women.
who would never need money from anyone else ever?
It is
just
100%
seems
working
so
all the time.
unbelievable.
It works.
It is,
yeah.
it is because it's believable
It's
to
unfortunate.
lonely women.
Yeah. But she lives in Idaho. She legitimately believes that she's in an online relationship with Keanu Reeves. This has been going on for months.
No,
And-
years now, right?
Probably at least a year. If I don't know how long it's been going on. We only
gotta be a
found
year
out
and
about
a
a
half
year
now.
ago.
I want
yeah,
you
maybe.
guys to submit
But, like-
this to the Catfish TV show so bad because I want to see, I want to have that connection.
Right.
And like,
But
what made me angry is like I think it's her son, right? Like, it was like, let her have this, let her be in this. It's like, really? It made me think, it's like, are you participating in this? Do you get
Is
money
he
out of this
Keanu?
situation?
Well-
Exactly. Are you setting this up because you get like a cut of this money? No, she should not have her money taken from her.
Yeah, so this has been going on for a long time. So yeah, I think like a year and a half ago, she was rummaging through our other aunt's files, and she was like trying to look at her bank statements and things like that. And I don't know if anything came of that, but she was like staying at her house, and she's like separated from her husband because of this. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening.
Got divorced because of this. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be happier with Keanu.
And she like really wanted to go to his concert that he had in here in Utah.
She went, yeah.
Yeah, she actually went. Her grandson took her, and they just kind of fed into this delusion that she has, that she's in this relationship with him. And anyways, like, all of this has been going on, and the aunt that she like rummaged through her files, she passed away a year ago. And suddenly my mom is like in charge of all of her assets, and she like took over her house and everything and had to go through all of that. And suddenly my mom was getting all of these messages on Facebook of people trying to hit her up. And my mom thinks it's because these scammers found out that she, you know, through this other aunt, that she was in charge of all these assets. And so they were like trying to hit her up and like do their own scam on my mom. The timing was stupid. Like, it definitely came from her. And my mom's like, I'm not going to fall for this. It's so stupid.
Man.
Yeah.
They just
She
wanted to
says
take all
that-
the money.
She says she won't fall for it, and then she like will forward texts to me like, hey, this anesthesiologist wants you to open this text message that they sent me to pay your bill. And I'm like, why would they be asking you to pay my bill? I'm like, don't open that text. Also, why would you be paying a bill through a text message? Just, I'm like,
I have never seen those from Mom, but okay.
But it's like, be skeptical of everything, and they would email me or send me something in the mail. Like, don't just go clicking things and then paying bills.
Yes, unless I know
boomers, man, boomers,
them, or I get it in the mail. I'm not touching anything financially. And boomers should be the most skeptical. They hate new things, and now they're just like, oh, Keanu Reeves? Heck yeah! Here's my routing number. Here's my bank account number.
I'm skeptical of everything, except unless it's financial and they want my money.
Then it's probably fine. What kind of dishonest person would want my money? Yeah.
You want my socials too?
Yeah.
She gave in. How did we get here from cuckoos?
I think we were talking about cyanide, and then Tucker was talking about chickens, and then I talked about cyanide, and we were talking about idiots on Facebook, and then anyway. So that's the connective.
Angry cuckoos and egg shortages. Okay.
Yeah, oh man, what a train of thought for that one.
And now my aunt is being cuckolded. So
now we're back.
Connected.
Perfect.
Now we're back.
Go, Shan.
You did it.
We did it. Yeah.
Snaps for Shan.
With that, cuckoos, Econo Valley depression, not Econo Valley, Great Bay depression. The fish are really sad that the eggs got stolen by the Grudo, and then you help them to be not sad. Boom jams, the end.
Was that like 20 or 30 minutes of tangent?
Who knows?
It was a lot.
And it's like right around the halfway point, so this might be like the beginning of the episode. It's like, welcome to Majora's Mask. We're going to talk about cyanide apples and idiots on the internet.
This is like when you walk into a theater and the movie starts, you're like, am I in the wrong theater?
This doesn't seem to... I think they got the wrong thumbnail on this one.
This isn't Finding Nemo.
It's like when you splice the wrong movie into another movie. What was it? Was it the Man in Black?
It was the same movie. No. Did you guys hear about this story?
You spliced it out of order?
Yeah, so back when I worked at the movie theater, I worked at
We talked about this when we did Silent Hill.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't splice the wrong movie. It was A Woman in Black, and I put it out of order because the person who had the reel before me didn't label it right, and I didn't know how to double check to make sure that the number... I remember looking at the numbers, I'm like, well, that ain't right. But I didn't know how to double check, so I just kept going with it. The heads and the tails were labeled wrong. But anyways, yeah. So it took till the next day to find out that it was out of order. And it was because someone had already watched the movie and came up to the management and they're like, hey, your movie's out of order. But, and you guys have already heard this, but for people who haven't listened to the other episode, I posted that on Facebook. Before that, I worked at a different theater that was a first run. And one of the managers there commented on my Facebook post and they said, yeah, when The Village came out at a first run theater, it was out of order for 2 weeks before anyone caught on to it.
The Village is a confusing movie. That one makes sense.
It is a confusing, yes, it is a very confusing movie. But yeah, they didn't catch it for 2 weeks. So people probably to this day hate The Village because they're like, what the F was that movie?
I hated The Village for completely different
reasons. I watched The Village at home and I didn't like it either. So
yeah.
Okay, I actually love The Village.
It was because
you saw it in order.
It was because of Bryce Dallas Howard. I wasn't impressed with her acting. I was an Adrian Brody fan, but it was just like
him.
It was. I don't know. What's his face? The director.
M. Night Shyamalan
Ding Dong.
Shyamalan Ding Dong. He had that one movie, and then he became obsessed with the trope of twists, and like. Once you're looking for a twist, it's not good.
Great Robot Chicken reference.
Thanks. Got it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we got off track again. So, nope. Damn it, we are bad at this.
He seems bad at this.
So, Econo Canyon representing acceptance. Econo Canyon is a cool area. I like this area a lot. I think there's some fun stories to be told here. I like the kind of like, it's this dead, somber kind of a, so Econo Canyon is like a fallen kingdom. There was a kingdom here before, and this is like a place that's being built upon the ruins of that kingdom. So it has like an almost kind of a spooky archaeological feel to it, where it's like these ancient kind of, structures and there's bones and Gibdos and all that kind of spooky, scary stuff. But so, Shan, did you have thoughts? Like, you were the one that kind of brought the subject up. Do you have thoughts on how it kind of relates to acceptance or?
Yeah. No, it's, let's see.
I put you on the spot again.
Yeah, I just need to look for it. Gosh, I don't have AI do things for you because sometimes it just like makes shit up and it's not that good. I didn't play it this time, right? So that's why it's like I'm a lot fuzzier on Iconic Canyon than some of the earlier stuff.
If you
it's
want,
a primacy
kind
of recency thing.
Yeah, I can just kind of expound upon some of the
give me some of the lore.
Yeah, sure. So I think that I mean, I have an answer to this, but so when you get to Iconic Canyon, there's this like house right in the middle that's, you know, and there's a bunch of Gibdos just walking in a circle around it. And it's this very spooky kind of eerie feel. And so you have to play the Song of Storms, and that brings the water back, which, you know, turns the wheels back on this house. It starts playing music, Gibdos go away. And then you can get inside this house. There's this little girl that lives inside this house that's been in there. And she comes out of the house, you're able to sneak in, and you find like a half person, half mummy creature inside. You play the Song of Healing for this creature, it's healed. You find out it's her dad. And so I think that there's like some levels hinting towards acceptance there, that this little girl has this horrifying reality that is just kind of what her life is. She accepts this, and you see signs of that. Like when you open up the cupboard where this zombie dad guy is, it's full of like fish bones and like things. So it seems like she's bringing him things to eat, maybe. Like she's just kind of become this caretaker. She's accepted that like this
so it's just they're surrounded by death and it's fine.
Yeah.
What you're getting
exactly.
at.
They're surrounded by death and it's fine. It's like this whole ruined area. And even like later you go to the iconic castle and you face off at the very end of the castle. You get the mirror shield, and it's like the little mini dungeon before the proper dungeon, the Stone Tower Temple. But you face off against what used to be the king and like his two primary guards. And they before the battle, they're still like they can't let go of this kingdom. And then you battle them and they kind of see like it's time to let this go, and they die, and they properly die, and they can kind of pass on. So there's some theming of acceptance there as well, that they accept that their kingdom is gone and it's time for them to pass and you know, move on with that. So it's this, yeah, I think Shan, you nailed it out of the park when you said that
nailed it out of the park, that they're surrounded by death and it's fine because enough time has passed that it's just what it is now.
Yeah, plus like help me recall like the elegy of emptiness and the spirits there. Isn't there already some sort of finality around the lore that around those things and an acceptance? Like it's not the same as, well, no, you're making these statues out of your masks, right? Like the people that you made masks out of, right? And so
it's like husks of those characters, right? So you put on your Goron mask or your Zoro mask or your Deku mask or your no mask at all, and then you can play the elegy and it creates a copy of that. Basically, it's, as gameplay wise goes, it just makes it so that you can press down switches and leave like 4 different versions in different places. And so that's how it works puzzle-wise. But as far as lore goes, as far as I understand it, that's right, Shan, is that you're putting on the mask of the Goron and you play the song and it leaves behind like an empty husk of that Darmani, of that Goron whose, you know, appearance you take when you put on the mask.
And at this point, you have already assumed their roles and you have taken on their grief and you have helped them move on throughout the whole game. So you have already moved them through their grief to acceptance. And so it feels like this is the final stage for all of those characters. It is their final arc.
Yeah, I think just the idea of the husk, I'm going to get a little spiritual here. and a little, I don't know, not religious, but I'm gonna stick with spiritual. That there's a usefulness to this plane of existence, and the physical realm. When you leave that behind, there's this husk. It has utility, but the real thing moves on. Go ahead, Eric. Clean up what I couldn't say eloquently.
Yeah, I like a lot what you're saying there, Tucker. I think that you're exactly right. That again, from a sort of a faith-based perspective, that you have your body and you have your soul. And if you've ever been around like to a funeral or seen someone that you love pass, when you see their body after that, it's not the same. Their soul is gone, and you can sense that. And so, for example, well, no, not for example, just that's what it is. And so I think that I agree with what you're saying there, Tucker, is that this form has a utility, but it's when it's empty that you can tell that it's empty. Like when it's just your body and there's no soul within that body, it's not the person isn't there anymore. It's just a body. And so when we visit like tombstones of those that we love that have passed, I always say like, we're going to visit this person's grave. I'm not going to say we're going to go visit this person because they're not there anymore. They're somewhere else. Their spirit is passed on. This is just their body. It's not this person.
When I think in the context of this acceptance realm, and that's good. That's I don't want to say a happy thing, but that's an okay thing. It's okay. We don't need to be sad. We don't need to be depressed. We don't have to go through these previous stages of grief because we accepted that this is a change in the metaphysical world around us, and we can move on and move forward. And we have to use that grief, use the things that we've learned to be able to move forward. So it's not take these bad things that have happened, this trauma that's happened to us, and bury it and throw it in the past. But it's to be able to truly move forward and move up. We have to use that to grow.
Yeah, I like the phrase. I was watching a show actually just before we started recording called Never Have I Ever, which if you haven't watched it, it's great. You should totally watch it. But completely unrelated. But a phrase from the show is that they said while I was watching today is that grief is an expression of love. And I was like, I love the idea of that being like when you grieve for something, it's because you loved it and it's not here now, or you miss it or something. And so grief is an expression of love. And I think it's a big part of acceptance is feeling that grief. And in this part of the game, there's, the grief and the sadness of a lost kingdom and of lost people and of lives that have been lived and are over now. And so there's a lot of feelings of sadness and grief, and those are expressions of love. And so there's a lightness to it as well, almost, especially once you heal this father character. He as you're standing there, his daughter runs right past you and just goes into his arms, and they just embrace each other. And it's this really touching moment of what comes after acceptance. Is that you kind of are okay. And in this case, the situation was made better. And so it's not a perfect example of accepting a bad situation, but it shows what can come if you're willing to accept.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad example. I think it's the natural fruits of acceptance is you're moving on to something better. You're not clinging on to the past. So this torn up kingdom, this moving on, you're truly moving on.
Yeah.
I think when we try to move forward and still hold on to the past, that's when we get in trouble. That's when, the negative outcomes of loss and grief come in, is when we're hanging on to the past. But when we accept the past for what it is and live in the present and look forward to the future, that's when we find the happiness. That's when we grow as human beings. And I think this section I really love because it demonstrates that and just sets it up so perfectly for the ending that, again, has been sticking with me since I finished.
Yeah, I think we could probably talk about the ending now. We're about to that point. But so I played the ending again today to refresh my memory, because we had played through this whole game, and I finished it about a month or so ago, because we were planning on recording it earlier, but wanted to give Tucker time to finish the game, and I'm glad we did, because you need to play the game. And so
the first time is so beautiful.
The first time is so beautiful. It's so special.
It really is.
Yeah.
I popped my Majora's Mask cherry, and I'll never be the same.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could all be there for your first time all together.
all of us.
Watching your pleasure. I couldn't find a grosser way to say it. I wish I could.
I don't know. That was pretty gross. I think you did okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Usually I'm more on top of it.
That's what she said.
Now it's funny.
Yeah, there it is.
So the ending of this game is awesome. As you've gone through each of the 4 dungeons, you learn the Oath of the Order, which is a song. You awaken the giants at the end of each area, and you're told to play the Oath of the Order once you're facing Skull Kid, and they'll come and stop the moon. And so you go again, just like you did at the end of the first, like the intro when you face Skull Kid, but you weren't powerful enough. You go back there again, you play the Oath of the Order, and it plays an awesome cutscene where these huge, weird ass looking giants, like some of the weirdest character designs.
It's like a giant egg with the longest legs possible.
They're big meaty legs too. They're not like little spindly. These guys never skip leg day. They're buff, beefy, weird legs on a teeny tiny like egg with a huge nose and a big old mustache. They're very weird character designs, and I am here for it. I love the giants. They're so weird, and I love it. But then they come out and they stop the moon, and they hold up their hands and they grab the moon out of the sky, and it's just this awesome moment of like, yes, we did it. We gathered the giants, we did it, we stopped it, we foiled Skull Kid's plans. Because at this point, you feel like there's an evil in the mask, but like Skull Kid is the enemy. And so you frustrate Skull Kid's plans. He kind of falls to the ground. Your Tattle and Tail are reunited. They're happy to be back together. And then sinister music starts to play. And then, you hear a voice that says, "I don't need this puppet anymore." And the mask floats up with a limp Skull Kid hanging from the mask. And he says, "This puppet has no more use of me. It's going to be cast aside." And then the mask stays floating there, but Skull Kid drops limply to the ground. And as the mask just like pierces you with its gaze, it flies up into the great mouth of the moon. And you're just like, what is happening? So I like, as a kid, the first time this happened, I was just like, I was so into it. I was like, this is so weird. This is so... Like, I don't know why it never occurred to me that the mask had a will of its own. I thought that Skull Kid was the one doing everything. But the fact that it was like the mask had possessed him, and the mask was the one that was evil, and the mask was the one that was, trying to destroy Termina through Skull Kid, just blew my mind as a kid. I thought it was so cool.
No, I actually I forget it all over again. It's like, oh wait, you're not supposed to know that the mask is sentient. It's like you forget what you're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
And I love the animation of like the ragdoll Skull Kid.
Yeah.
Just like very surprisingly well done. Like you take that for granted now.
This was a great surprise as a first time, as a Majora's virgin. Going through this,
people are gonna absolutely hate us for this.
It's okay.
How many comments are we gonna get? This is Majora's Mask.
They're wrong,
and then I'm gonna find the
Majora's.
one person. I just want to know if there's one other person out there who thought the same way as I did.
Well, there is, and she's on the podcast with us, right?
Yes. Because I was a younger sister growing up with you.
The only other human. Yeah.
I'm curious if this is. I'm curious if like all of Latin America thought it was Majora. That would be fantastic for me.
You'd
That'd
feel
be
very
great news.
validated.
We do have a big Latin America audience.
Yeah. All of our Latin American fans, sound off in the comments and let us know if it's Majora or Majora.
Gosh.
Uh,
All right, sorry, Tucker.
Oh yeah. So anyway, really cool twist. I think this is where I had Last of Us 2 kind of vibes at the end, where it's just like, oh, it's not what I was expecting. It's subverting all these expectations, and then looking back at the game I just played in a completely different light changes your view of everything. And so that's where I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And it's kind of a combination for me of Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding, of just like constantly thinking about this more than I probably should. So yeah, like I don't know, it's just brilliant. Not at all what I was expecting from a N64 game at all.
Well, and it's not a super complicated twist.
No,
and when
it's not.
even like knowing what it is now, it's not even a very unexpected twist. Once it happens, you're like, yeah, of course that was going to happen. But at the time, it still managed to catch you off guard. And you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But then you're like, I should have been expecting that. Of course, this is what was going to happen. So it's like
Kids can't predict twists.
Yeah,
we didn't know twists existed.
No, it's this perfect balance of like completely expected, not once you know it, but surprising because you didn't expect it. That was complete word soup, but like,
yeah, everything tonight has been word soup.
Like,
to be fair,
for me,
that's par for the course.
Yeah, it's expecting something. I just wasn't expecting, it to be
So,
what it
word
was.
soup.
so how much were you expecting when you went to the moon? Because the first time I played this game, I was like, the whole game, I was like, we're going to have a climactic battle on the surface of the moon. We're going to go to the top of the moon and I'll show down with Skull Kid and it'll be crazy. And then you go to the moon and you go inside the moon and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, wasn't expecting to go inside the moon. Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah.
Well,
Now this goes full Lynchian because this is subconscious.
Bless you.
This is dream. No, can't do it there.
It's not funny
This
that
is-
time. I messed it up. Yeah.
This is dreamlike, and like there are other Lynchian inspirations of the game, but it's more the other stuff that I'm not going to say because I don't want to get into again. But this is Lynch. This is like the Red Room. This is they get real weird in here, and
So weird.
and like they use that like sort of soft focus, floaty atmosphere, and these kids, it's like get the fuck out of my face. Like I don't want to be around them.
They
Shan
are
hates children.
deeply creepy. Yeah. Well, something that I don't know how I never noticed this before, and maybe I did, but just subconsciously. But this time when I played it, I really realized, I really zeroed in on when you're inside the moon, you can still hear the rumbles. Because like when you're playing through the game, the closer it gets to the dawn of the third day, the more frequently and the more intense the like rumbles from the moon become that like shake the earth and kind of like, oh, something bad's happening. And then when you're inside the moon, you can still feel and hear those rumbles, but they're muted and soft and they feel distant, like they're happening somewhere else, even though you're inside of the thing that's causing them. And so it creates this feeling of like quiet distance and serenity mixed with like almost like a surrealistic horror vibe that like you feel detached from what's happening outside, even though you are inside of the thing that's causing all of the bad happenings. It's very weird and very spooky. And I am here for it. I love it.
Do we have any guesses for what they're supposed to represent?
The different children, not a clue.
Yeah.
I should have done more research. They're just weird and creepy. And I like how they, when you go up and talk to them, they ask to play with you. And their dialogue is super limited. They don't like, you don't have long conversations with them. They're like, do you want to play with me? Give me masks. And then you give them a mask and they just say more. And it's this like weird, because kids
It's
don't
like
talk
an id
like
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an id
It's
thing.
craven.
Yeah, they just more. Give me more, like more.
It's insatiable.
More. Yeah, it's insatiable. It's creepy. It's not how a child would normally behave, and it makes it feel very sinister and kind of gross. It's really cool.
All right, so I just pulled some stuff up. I haven't thought about this ahead of time. I'm just gonna pitch some stuff and we can think about it. All right, so who are the kids inside the moon? Here are some theories. Fragments of Majora, emotional aspects of the mask trying to understand meaning, or souls of the bosses or lost children. They are purified spirits, possibly connected to Termina's past, or projections of Link's psyche, emotional trials mirroring identity, growth, and sacrifice, or spiritual gatekeepers, angelic beings or tests before final ascension. Now, obviously, they probably don't technically mean anything, but I'm curious if any of these kind of resonated more than the other. I feel like, especially because there's a final child right before you meet Majora, I like, and they have the boss masks, and we do kind of feel like, well, I feel like the bosses represent the stages of grief more specifically, because they are symbolic of the areas that they are from. I don't know if it does. It feels like maybe that is representations of Majora. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
I
fragments of it. I mean,
well, I kind of like the idea of fragments of Majora, and I think that also fits in with like them representing the souls or whatever of the defeated bosses, because I think those defeated bosses are also fragments of Majora, that they're manifestations of his rage and mischief and desire to negatively affect, because, you know, Adalwa is the one causing the swamp to go poison. Goat is the one that's causing like the curse. Once you defeat Goat, the mountain isn't snowy anymore. Once you defeat Adalwa, the swamp isn't poisoned. Once you defeat Georg, I think the currents change. I don't remember what bad thing is going on in the Great Sea, but it's like, I think that they're manifestations of Majora's rage, and so when you face those kids again and they're wearing those masks, I think them being a symbol of their outworld counterparts makes sense to me. And also, I'm looking at the character models now, just like an image of it. And because I wanted to confirm before I said this, but I think that they share a face model with the Happy Mask Salesman. They have that red parted hair. And so they look like the Happy Mask Salesman, which is another thing that we can talk about. The Happy Mask Salesman, what in the world is that guy?
He is an otherworldly being too. He's also Lynchian in that he is kind of omniscient in a way. He can appear sort of at will and sort of apparate, and
interdimensional demon is what he is.
Exactly. He's got an unpredictability and a weird energy to him. So he is a creature that is not technically tethered to the world as you know it, like the other NPCs are. And so having him be connected to these demon children, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I was going to say, why do these kids share his face? I mean, we never see their face, but they pretty clearly have the same hairdo, and it looks like a similar or the same face model as him. It's like, what
they had to go out of their way to do that because they had to make these NPCs.
Well, what's the deep connection, the deeper connection between the Happy Mask Salesman and the Majora's Mask? Like at the beginning of the thing, he says that he has the mask, he was traveling with it, and it got stolen from him. But where did he get the mask? Why does he want the mask? What is his connection to that mask? Why do these manifestations of Majora inside of the moon look like him?
And they're obsessed with masks just as much as he is. Maybe they're his actual children, and he had quintuplets.
And they live inside the moon, and they just want to get masks from other people.
And he wants his masks back because he knows that his creepy quintuplet children are looking for them.
Yeah. There it is.
And he knows that they are his demon spawn.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember playing this as a kid and just being so completely unsettled by everything that was happening inside the moon. Just these weird, creepy kids just not asking, telling me to give them more masks. Like, give me your masks, do it. And then doing these weird challenges that were connected to each mask. But then, and the fact that all of those other kids are like running around and playing, the ones with the boss masks on, but the one with Majora's Mask is just got sitting with his hands wrapped around his knees at the bottom of the tree, kind of looking down, just had this incredibly sinister vibe to him.
Hold on. So where there's 4 children, right? That you, yeah.
Well, there's 5, including the one with.
Yeah. So it seems like it'd represent the giants, the 4 giants, and then the one under the tree, who's bummed out, being Skull Kid.
Oh yeah, there could be some symbolism
and
there.
Feeling left out.
But then, why do they have the masks of the bosses?
Well, those bosses were regionally based. So the giants were guardians of each of those regions. Tale at the beginning says, swamp, mountain, forest, whatever, the 4 who are there, bring them here. So they are wards or guardians of those specific areas. And so maybe they're tied to those areas the same way those bosses are tied to those areas. So maybe not a direct representation, but
I don't know. There could be something there, but it does feel like the one that's sinister and hiding under the tree, he most directly, in personality, seems to represent Majora himself, and he seems to have parallels to Skull Kid in that he's isolated, afraid, and alone.
So isn't this again, talking out of my ass here. So with just Zelda in general, is that kind of the same situation of where Ganon is always the one that's left out in these earlier games, especially? So
he's often singled out because he's the only
out.
male for generations and Gerudo tribe. So
this being singled out, but it, like, you have the 4 areas in a lot of Zelda games, and then there's the singled out.
Yeah, maybe Ganondorf is also, whenever he's born, is usually revered as a king, though. So
you have to appreciate that in a society of almost 99.9% women, they still manage to be a patriarchal society.
You really got to go out of your way for that one.
Oh man, good for them.
Well, is it good? I feel like it doesn't ever really work very well for them.
Sure, one guy ruins it for everybody.
They have that one in hundreds of year demon spawn, and they're like, "That's our guy. Let's make him a king."
This one, him. Well, yeah, I love the inside of the moon. I think it's awesome. Very cool vibes here. And I love that at the end of it all, you get the fierce deity mask. Tucker, you got all the masks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I used to walk through, remember?
Yes. So, but I like, to Tucker, you were talking about this earlier in the game, but you're taking these masks that you've been working for over the course of this game, and they're kind of like trophies and symbols of the people that you've tried to help along the way and of the people that you've tried to heal. And then, you can technically go into the final battle without giving away any of your masks. You can just go to the final battle. But to be best prepared, you give away all these masks. So you're taking these pieces of your journey and you're just kind of giving them away. You touched on it earlier, Tucker. Did you have any more to say about that and kind of how that sat with you?
I don't know if I can say it better than I said it before. This idea of like sacrifice to move forward. People don't fear change. People fear losing what they already have, and that is what hinders them from accepting change. And so in this instance is you have to sacrifice these things you've worked for that have so much utility. It was really hard to give up the bunny hat mask.
It's the most useful mask.
It's the most useful,
greatest mask ever.
Yeah, that one was really hard for me to give up. But in order to move forward, you have to give those things up, no matter how good or bad they were.
And to this point, it does seem like it's trying to teach you a very specific lesson of like, okay, you have been this silent pilgrim who has helped people accept all of this grief, and you have you've carried their burdens. Now, if you've learned your lesson, you're supposed to give it up, and if you can ascend and get past this purgatory, if you will. And that's when you become something greater and fulfill your absolute potential, and you are given the fierce deity mask, and
Well,
you
I think
become the hero.
there's this. I really like this theme of the only thing really holding you back is yourself. There's nobody else. It's all within you to give those things up. And if you do, there's a reward, but you don't know that. First time through, didn't know I was going to get the fierce deity mask. I just started giving things away. And I think in life, that's a lot of times what it is we just have to,
Just trust.
We just have to trust. We got to take a leap of faith. We got to step off the edge and, believe that we're going to find our footing. And we do.
Yeah, you just like, it's like, yeah, it's your own volition. You're like, I think this feels right. They just telling me to get my masks. Like, okay, I'll just do it, I guess. You're like, I don't know what it's going to take to move on. This feels right, so I'm just going to do it. And then you just keep doing what you think feels right until eventually it is what's right. And you have found the formula that helps you move on.
So that is the acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that this is the ultimate example of Link's acceptance on his journey. Yeah. So
and he's technically doing it as a proxy for everyone else, because what has he done? He's in purgatory, but for other people.
Yeah. But then you get the fierce deity mask, which turns the final boss into an absolute joke. You just don't have to move at all, really, and you just push the attack button, and then bad things happen and Majora dies. It's just like, it is hilariously overpowered.
Yeah. Just like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, to more of a degree, like Breath of the Wild, I feel like there's some light challenge to be had, even if you've done all the prep work. There's still like some mechanics in the boss fight, but in Majora's Mask, you come with the fierce deity mask, and you literally, like, he just bends over and dies. Like, it's just, there's no
just
resistance.
Bends over, takes the double helix sword in the ass, and he's like, yes,
and then
please,
keels
sir,
over.
Can
dead.
I have some more?
Yes. But I felt like for research purposes, I had to go into this battle and try it without the fierce deity mask as well, just to kind of like get the atmosphere and understand the battle. And it's like, when you don't have it, it's a very frantic, weird battle. I love that when you walk into the boss arena, the mask just kind of floats up, and his little, like, the little spikes on the side are waggling, just making it look like this thing is alive. It's not just a mask anymore. And it's not a super duper hard battle, but it's definitely more challenging without the fierce deity mask. And then I love how it really doubles down on its weirdness. And when you beat the first phase, it just starts to quiver angrily, and then these weird spindly limbs just like shoot out of it. And then it starts dancing and cackling and making like weird laughing baby cries. And it's just so completely unhinged and bizarre. And he's running around super fast, leaving behind like a trail of like shades of itself as it runs around, and it's just like giggling and then whipping you with its hands. And it's like, what the hell is happening? It's so weird, and such a perfect cap to this bizarre trip of a game. And then once you defeat that phase, Majora knows that he's about beaten. He's not playing with you anymore. He's not toying around. He's not having fun. The arms get more muscly. He gets a big, mean, gross head on top of his mask. He takes his final form, and that form is a lot more aggressive, and it's less like being silly and crazy, and it's just trying to kill you. And it just feels like a beast that's been backed into a corner almost, that's like desperately trying to fulfill its plan, even though you're just shooting laser beams at it over and over again. So it's a very cool boss battle, very atmospheric, and I think a perfect cap to what this game is, which is just weird and strange and dark.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No notes. Yeah.
So that's it. That's the finale. Then everything is saved. The world is happy.
You've restored Skull Kid, and that's like
restored Skull Kid,
and you reunite Tattle and Tell.
Yeah.
But like that's what I that's what I love. Like, yes, there's this climactic battle, but like ultimately, Skull Kid sadly is just kind of discarded by the totem that like he that made him feel powerful and important for like the first time ever. And even that is done with him. And it's like, is this going to break him again? Is he emotionally distraught? But like, he is restored. He has his friends and everything. And you have healed him with your compassion and your patience. But then you just like walk away.
Yeah. Tattle's like, you're all done here. Get out of here. Go. She white fangs you. And then Link just leaves.
Yeah. It's a really cool silent ending. And it just contrasts with the first games in very interesting ways.
But then like you said, they have their own separate celebrations. There's fireworks, and you get to see Anju and Cafe's wedding ceremony, and like, which I think we'll take a minute to touch on some of the fun side quests in a minute here. But it just shows that this world goes by whether or not Link is there. That they'll never really understand this silent hero that came by and fixed everything for them. That he just kind of, for them, Link was a crazy kid. Happened. Yeah, for them, it's like if they even had a chance to see Link, he just came out of the clock tower, played the song of Forward Time 8 times, and then went up and punched Skull Kid, and everything was fine. But it's like this. But for Link, it was this huge journey. He helped dozens and dozens of people and for them, it's just he just did this one thing and disappeared.
Yeah, it's like the end of the Lord of the Rings movies.
He's a ghost.
Is they just come back to the Shire and everything is just as it was, even though they've had this huge life-changing experience.
And that's exactly that, Tucker, where they're just sitting around the table having some ale, and they know what they did, and everybody just goes on having their merry old time as if nothing's happened, but they know that they saved everyone.
But I think that's a really important just lesson is just like, I don't want to say integrity, but like you're doing things to better the world around you, whether society knows it or not. Like there's a real, like that's what I think real morality is I don't care what, that this is broadcasted to the world. I'm going to do something. I'm going to put good into the world, whether somebody sees it or not. The important thing is that I know I put good into the world. I know I did try to do my part to make the world a better place. And I think this version of Link capitalizes. What's the word?
I don't know. What
captures that.
Encapsulates.
Encapsulates. There we go. Capitalizes.
Tucker's like, it capitalizes. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, man. That's not close to any real words that I know.
It's like 3 different words combined.
It capitalizes. I'm going to pull a Shan.
really nailed it out of the park.
It capitalizes just that so well of just, this really silent hero of just anyway. I can't. I'm just going to talk in circles because it just makes me feel.
It's aspirational as a hero figure because you know how hard it is to do something altruistically. This is something that like I was neurotic about as a kid, where it's like I needed to live my generosity out loud because I needed the accolades from third-party observers. And I realized that if I was doing that I wasn't doing it altruistically. I was doing it for attention. And it took like years. It took so long in my life to be able to break that cycle and to be able to do things silently and to do it just between me and another person, and then to just walk away and have no one else know about it. It is so fucking hard.
Especially our family. We are obsessed with words of affirmation and validation. Obsessed. Like if I do something, I want everyone to know that I did it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really tempting to be like, I'm doing this nice thing. How come no one's saying thank you? Like,
so this hero, the hero of time, is considered the most tragic Link. in all the different timelines that branch off here. And this actually leads into Twilight Princess, because have you guys played Twilight Princess?
Yeah.
Cool.
Obvi.
Tucker never that is your next one, Tucker. So
I have not finished it. It is not the most fun Zelda.
Oh, it's the best one. So
it is not fun.
It is not the best one. It is very good, but it's not the best one.
No, it's my favorite. I'm obsessed with this game. But in Twilight Princess, you run into Hero's Shade, and it's this like old warrior. You think it's a Stalfos. I don't think it actually is. I'd have to go back and double check. But
it looks like he looks like a skeleton. Has the appearance of a skeleton wearing armor.
Yeah. And it's like this fallen hero, and he's called Hero Shade. And throughout the game, you keep encountering him, and he'll show you all these different sword tricks. So you keep learning new ways to attack your enemies throughout the game. And that is directly confirmed to be the Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And you are a direct descendant of him. And throughout the games, you encounter him, you go kind of into this like other realm, and he'll teach you things. And he's considered very tragic, and it's really sad because he did all of these amazing things, but he never saw the validation for it. He never got recognition for it, and he died kind of alone, possibly
as sort of
in
like
the
an
woods.
Unknown warrior.
Yeah.
It's sorry,
really
kind of alone. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. That's great if you want to add to it. But basically, yeah, that he's considered very sad and tragic because he never got that recognition. And he ends up possibly dying in the woods. Who knows? Maybe he never really made it out of Termina. Maybe he never made it back to Hyrule. And he stumbled back out of that tree and he walked through the woods and died or something. He possibly died when he was older. They never really confirm what happened, but he's this soldier who wants to pass on all of these amazing sword tricks to help you in your journey.
I might be wrong about this, but I think it is implied that version of Link did fight in the imprisoning wars, and that's how he died. Might be right. And I am mediocre at best with my Zelda lore, so that could be all the way wrong. But I think that he did see some kind of battles and was a soldier to some degree, but not like a lauded hero. He was like a soldier. And so he died kind of in maybe a slightly acrimonious death and was just another one of Hyrule's soldiers. And so yeah, very tragic, very sad. And he kind of led a less than glorified life. So yeah. Very cool.
You know, my controversial take is I kind of just allow each game to exist by itself, and I don't try to tie it together, because I think that's how they developed them.
I know that's how they developed them. Yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto has said as much, that they make the game first and they make the story, like gameplay comes first, story comes second, and then finding a way to connect it to the broader Zelda lore comes last, if at all.
And that's mostly done by fans, and it's like I don't care about what the fans say.
Yeah, and I think that there's fun ways to find ties to other Zelda games, particularly in Wind Waker. There's a lot of really overt references to Ocarina of Time.
Wind Waker is super fun.
And it's fun to find those little things and stuff. So I like there to be some connective tissue, but I'm not like poring over Zelda lore and being like, but this doesn't add up and this does, maybe it fits here on the timeline. It's like, okay, I like a very surface level connection from the timeline. Yeah. I think that's kind of where I like it.
Okay. I need to get into this though. As a kid, I did think they had to be connected. So, going from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, I thought, these are the same sprites. And so they are the same. It is a continuation. Because nothing refuted that as a kid. And so I thought, all right, so how does Ocarina of Time connect to Majora's Mask? And nothing explained it to me. I just had to play it, and I thought, all right, so how does this character in Hyrule get to Termina? And in my head, I'm just trying to make things up. It's like, okay, so that character
tells you. It straight up tells you in a text box at the beginning of the game.
Well, no, not all of it makes sense. Like some characters look the same, some look a little bit different. It's like, okay, well, why does that one have a slightly different name? And I'll tell you, I think the one that like was hardest for me was what's her name, Malon, from Lon Lon Ranch.
Oh, and
Marin.
Crimea.
Yeah.
She's Malon from Lon Lon Ranch. Marin is the girl from Link's Awakening.
Okay, Malin. Going from Lon Lon Ranch to what's her name?
Romani Ranch.
Romani. Going to Romani Ranch and seeing her there with a different name, but also seeing her adult form as Crimea at the same time. That to me was a Chidi Anagonye moment.
It was the dot in the eye.
It was the dot above the eye in a Jeremy Bearimy.
Like, that broke me.
That broke me. In my head, I was able to reconcile almost everything. But when I saw those two characters at the same time, but with different names, I was like, that's the dot above the eye. That broke me.
What's this? What the hell is this? Oh, that's Tuesdays and also July. It's also the time space where nothing never happens. You get it. Yeah.
This broke me.
For those of you who don't know, we're referencing in The Good Place. They're trying to explain the timeline in the afterlife, and it looks like the cursive name Jeremy Bearimy. It like loops around in on itself, but there's one spot where there's a dot above the eye.
Disconnected from everything.
Disconnected from it, not connected at all. And Chidi's like, what's this? What the hell is this? He's like, oh, that's Tuesdays and also July. He's like, that broke me.
And also where time sometimes never happens.
Yeah.
And is that also, I think, is that episode called the Jeremy Bearimy, or is that episode the Time Knife?
I think that one's called Jeremy Bearimy.
Okay. Also the Time Knife. Okay.
The Time Knife is a good moment.
Anytime Chidi Anagonye like has his world deconstructed in front of him and he like breaks down, it's like Adam Scott in Parks and Rec when he gets drunk. It's some of the funniest gold. Shit I've ever seen.
Just comedy gold. Well, now that we've kind of gone through, discussed the story, I wanted to, if you guys want to, touch on a couple of the overarching side quests, because part of what I think makes Majora's Mask really special is the overarching story is very, very cool, but there's a lot of really excellent side characters and side quests. Shan touched on Romani and Crimea, and obviously there's
aliens.
The aliens, and there's obviously the couples mask, but I let's talk about Romani and Crimea. I love that side quest. I love those characters.
It gave me so much anxiety. I despise that it's a fantastic side story, but I had so much anxiety playing it. The aliens are genuinely freaky deaky, you know?
They're so freaky. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing about that and the other side missions is that since all of the characters are moving around and the NPCs have strict schedules, it means that if you want to accomplish certain things at certain times, you need to keep a strict schedule too. And there are some of these quests that span multi-day things, and you have to do certain things at the right times or you miss it, and then you have to start over and try again. Mm-hmm. And so this is another one of those ones where it's like you have to come to the ranch on the first day, but you have to explode it with a powder keg. You can't just get in on the first day. So you have to figure out how to do that. And then once you do that, you have to get your horse back and you have to talk to Romani and, figure out what's going on. And then she tells you to come back and then you come back and then you have to like guard the farm from these aliens that are coming down to try to kidnap the cows because obviously, that's
it's
all aliens
so
want is
funny.
they just want cows.
It's incredible.
It's so funny. But at the same time, it has this underlying layer of like creepiness and weirdness that runs throughout all of Majora's Mask. But it's like, if you mess up, like the part where you're protecting with the part where you're protecting the barn from the aliens, if you mess that up, you have to go back to the dawn of the first day and do all of the steps leading up to that again. And so it creates this like intense, stressful situation where you're like, I have to get them all. If I mess it up, I've got to start all the way over.
Yeah, and I think I almost always fail at least once it is very hard to keep track of all of the aliens because you don't have perfect line of sight around that barn or whatever.
Yeah, they kind of set it up like they want you to ride your horse around and do it, but it's like it's kind of hard to turn Epona around quickly. You kind of have to take turns really wide. And so I found that the best way to do that thing is with the bunny hood. You put the bunny hood on and you just kind of like you just do laps. You just do laps around the barn, and that makes it quite a bit easier. Like
that would be so much easier.
Yeah, but like the game really makes it like seem like you should do it on your horse, but there's nothing telling you that you have to. So you lose some speed, but you gain a lot of maneuverability, and it makes that mission a lot more manageable.
I end up camping in a little corner and then just periodically checking around a corner for the one that comes around behind the back.
Little sneaky aliens.
Yeah. Sneaky.
But I love that side quest because it has so many cool layers to it, because you get to see what happens if you're successful, but also you can come and see what happens if you're not. If you don't do anything to fight the aliens and you come on like the third day, then you see Romani and she's just like, because if you fail, Romani gets abducted by the aliens. And so if you come back on like the third day, you see Romani, she's like
probed.
Got her head in her hands and she's just like shaking her head around and kind of silently crying and muttering to herself, and you're like, oh man,
you got probed.
Bad things happened, that you lost your mind, you saw some crazy alien things that you shouldn't have seen. And it's just like, and it creates this connection where it's like gross, she's a kid, I don't like it, but it just creates this sense of like of responsibility for this girl. You like feel this sense of responsibility where it's like, if I don't come there and fight off those aliens, this horrible thing is going to happen to this girl every single timeline when I'm off busy doing something else. And this game is full of moments like that where it's like, I have to be off doing something else, and I know that while I'm doing that, bad things are happening to other people. And it's like, it's just gut-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in that same area, you get one of my other favorite masks, which is the marching mask, and you get
that is my favorite side quest
because is it the Bremen mask?
Yeah.
The song slaps. It goes so hard. I could sit there. I just like, you evolve the chicks. I say evolve because they're basically Pokemon at this point. Yeah. And
you gotta get a sunstone, and then
but after you evolve them, I just sit there and I just keep marching for a while because
it's so fun. It's such a good song.
Little marching animation.
Yeah,
just adorable. He's just like with his ocarina and he's just marching around. You're like, you're so gosh dang cute, you little marching man.
Mm-hmm. I hate that it doesn't have more applications outside of that.
It's really just, well, I wrote down a list of fun facts, and there is one other application that we'll get to in a minute, because at the end of the Ocarina of Time episode, we did a little quick fire fun fact, and I have some more of those. So, but I love this Romani's Ranch area, and once you succeed with that, then Cremia, the older sister, wants you to accompany her in town to take a milk delivery, and she starts to kind of like talk to you and confide in you, and you get this really interesting backstory about how, she still thinks about their dad helped them run the ranch and he's died, and so it's just the two of them left there. So it's this story about how like Cremia has had to kind of stop being a sister to her sister and be more like a mom. This responsibility has been thrust upon her, and so instead of being able to grieve for her loss, she has to step up and take care of her little sister. And it's this really interesting dynamic that this world is just full of interesting characters with believable and tragic stories that I can't get enough of. This is probably, I know that everybody loves like the couples mask quest, which I think is also very awesome. It's like a lot of good
well
story
made,
there.
But it's very frustrating. It's hard to balance it's hard to decide if I like it, because it's like it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to like, I hate that I have to look it up.
That's one that I have to look that one even now. I look it up every time because I can like almost remember all the stuff, but I was like, shoot, where's the it's at 3:00 on the first day. Like it's so anyways, but what I was saying is I this is my favorite little piece of side story, as I love the ranch run by these sisters and their backstory that's hinted at, and the weird stuff with the aliens and being able to save them from that and befriend them in that way, I think is very interesting. But the couples mask mission runs across all 3 days. It has other side missions kind of woven in and tied in with it that you can sort of complete along the way. It ties in with like the mail carrying side quest, which is also one of my favorites. I love that one because it's this mailman who is like really strict on his schedule. He's got to do everything, even when the moon is going to come down and kill everybody. Most everyone is evacuated Clocktown, and he's still like, he's just sitting in the mailroom, kind of like freaking out, like, I'm going to die in here, but the schedule doesn't say to run away. He's just like bound to his schedule. And
like
then
a true mailman.
Like a true mailman, neither snow nor sleet nor moon in the murder sky. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's the same.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. So he's got a really, but that's woven into this couples mask mission, which goes across all 3 days, and it's very specific timing. You do very specific things, and the story that you get out of it is very fun and very interesting. But the quest can
How
be a
did
little
you know the
frustrating.
mailman's motto by? How did you have that memorized?
Oh, I don't know.
The Postal Service?
Yeah,
Neither snore nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds.
Okay, well,
you had part of that memorized.
I said the first 2 parts. I said neither rain nor sleet, which I don't think is right.
But how did you know it?
Yeah, Shan, how did you not know that? How do you not know that? That's like common. That's yeah. You think of going postal and then this.
I feel like they used to like teach that in school or something. I don't know.
No,
it's just in my brain.
Go ask Gen Z if they know any trivia.
Well, Gen Z doesn't know anything. Just
Eric, I am fully with you on this.
Thank you.
That is common knowledge.
No, Emerlie, did you know about the postman's motto? Yeah,
you guys are
not even slightly.
Same household.
Yeah, it seems
doesn't
like
matter.
a family thing. Yeah.
Look, I kind of knew about it, but that you just kind of had it memorized. I was like, "Where's this? How do you know this?"
That I
I
sort of paraphrased the first 2 lines doesn't mean that I had it memorized.
Most people don't know that they have a motto, and I'm like, "Why do you know it?"
I'm very smart. I have a wide birth of knowledge.
Very weird.
It's a very weird place to go on
know.
fire.
All right.
Well, yeah, so the couples mask. Shan has thoughts. Give us your thoughts about the couples mask mission, about how it's
infuriating.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to it, and you can't really figure it out. I don't even think as a child I was able to figure it out eventually. I had to go to
this was a game fact situation.
Or GCC. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's or like you had to go buy a manual or something. Like, you can't figure this out. And if you did, good for you, but you're lying. So I think the most infuriating part is like when you go out to the valley and the thief is there and he might see you, because I think it's pretty easy to get seen, and then you have to
hide in like a very specific spot, and it's like on the 3rd day. It's like one of the last things you do, and if you mess it up, they have to start everything over.
That's infuriating. Right after that, it's a really cool sequence where you're trying to move the blocks. It's frenetic, and it makes me panic every time, and it's very. But it's
like they give you way like so much more than enough time to actually do it, but it feels very panicky and like because you're like, I'm not going to make it there, and then you get through and you're like, oh, I had like 2 more minutes. Like,
no, I've lost before.
Oh, really? Yeah, me too.
When you're in a panic sweat, you can make some very stupid decisions. So anyway, I hate getting to the 3rd day and messing up. It's like you just want to throw your controller. It's like it's one of those times where it's like, if you're playing on an emulator and you save state right before you're about to do the last thing on the like for the couples mask, no one's gonna judge you. That shiz is frustrating. Like,
yeah, I save state the crap out of this entire game because I'm like, okay, will I have to go back to the first day? Like 3rd day, anything on the 3rd day is just like every single sequence was save state. It's like, I'm not starting this over again.
Yeah. I got I'm gonna play this game on actual N64, and I think I'm going to be in a cold sweat the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, there's gonna be so much tension and anxiety, actually trying to make things fit in the 3 days without having to reset.
Yeah.
Like, this game will do that without save states.
Well, and it's even the saving system in the original one is really like you can either go back to the dawn of the first day and that saves the game, or you can go to an owl statue and save, but then it quits. Like it exits you out of the game. And then once you come back into the game, it deletes that save. And so it's this very like, it's hard to save in the game. Like as you go, you have to like accomplish big chunks and then you can go back in time and like really save. So it's a whole thing. But yeah, I love the side quests. There's some other good ones that deserve shout outs. I think that the Frog Choir, the Goron Racing for the gold dust and the magic sword is super fun. The beavers in the Great Bay, the race with the butler.
Pretty cool, but for some reason I get a lot of anxiety going back into dungeons that I've already completed. I get anxiety. It's a liminal space at that point. It's like I don't want to go back through these places that I've already completed and have to fight enemies that I've already defeated and don't have to defeat again. For some reason that creates a lot of like friction inside of my soul.
Well, in any other Zelda game, if you went back to a dungeon, you go back to that dungeon and all the doors are unlocked. It's like it was when you left it. But in Majora's Mask, as soon as you go back to the dawn of the first day, that dungeon is reset. It's like you never beat it. And so going back and getting those frogs inside the dungeons is actually can be kind of a pain. I would like the mission better if they were like frogs in the overworld, like solve puzzles in the overworld. But so I think it's like 2 of them are in the dungeons out of the 5, maybe 3. But yeah,
pretty cool.
But that's a fun way to use the mask. But so there's lots of really fun. Oh, and the all-night mask. I love wearing the all-night mask, and because there's this lady who tells really boring stories. And
is it a lady? I could never tell.
Yeah, it's the grandma.
I'm thinking of the wizard. The wizard I could never tell. It was kind of like
the wizard,
like you know the thing that like the unisex NPC that like helps you see, the astronomer. I could never tell what gender that thing was.
Oh, I thought he had a mustache. Does he not have a mustache?
Does he?
I thought he had like gray hair and a mustache.
Yeah, he's always looked like a mustachioed old man to me.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking, which NPC am I thinking of? There's some that I just like, I can't place the gender of, and it's really,
I don't know.
I know that the carpenters are really frustrating sometimes for me to figure out.
They've got like open-chested shirts.
And
yeah.
I don't know what you're getting at.
It's not a super normal thing for women to do.
They have moobs.
Yeah. I think they have hair on their chest too.
Oh, women can't have hair?
Well,
I know that there's some
not usually. Not on their chests.
You're right. The astronomer does have a mustache. That's not the one I'm thinking of. All right. Old lady. Yeah, old lady is pretty obvious too. No, that's not the old lady I'm thinking of. Okay, the one in the wheelchair is pretty obvious. Okay, I don't know which one I'm thinking of.
Can we talk about the hand in the toilet?
Yes, the hand
because
in the toilet.
This came out a year before Silent Hill 2. And I feel like there was some heavy inspiration there when this game came out, and it's kind of this purgatory, almost like, experience, and so is Silent Hill 2. And they both have toilets and hands involved in the dirty toilets. Let's talk about that.
There's something there. What's the theming? It's clearly a very weird theme in the early 2000s.
Some
What's
kind
going
of
on with
fetish
that?
Yeah.
or something.
Was the early 2000s the actual glory age of gaming?
Yes.
Because I'm feeling like
because it was all very toilet centric.
Yeah.
No, okay, so what is it referencing? Japanese urban legend, a Kashimi Raiko, an Akamanto, or toilet ghosts.
Is that anything like the Loch Ness Monster?
It is exactly like the Loch Ness Monster of toilets.
Oh.
So
The toilet monster.
Japan, yes, Japan has a long tradition of toilet spirits and bathroom hauntings, especially in schools
It's a
and
weird thing to
inns.
have a long tradition of.
I did not
Very
experience
long
that one.
tradition.
Yeah, I did not experience that when we were in Japan. Emerlie,
Also-
Shan, did you guys experience
Any
Japan,
toilet ghosts?
yeah.
No
Japan,
moaning
like-
mortals, nothing.
Japan decades ago also had squatty potties, so you'd like hold on to something and you'd like lean back and you'd squat. So like imagine a ghost reaching up into your anus.
Ooh, that makes it so much worse than a regular toilet.
Very
At least you're holding
reaching
on to
up.
something. You can pull
So much
yourself
more
away.
vulnerable.
Turning you into a meat
you have
puppet.
something to like you have to work on your upper body
Yeah.
strength, but you have something to pull yourself back away from that
Ooh.
ghost.
That sounds just horrible.
So these
Horrifying.
restless ghosts died shamefully or tragically. I'm
Well, yeah,
guessing
they're in the
shamefully.
toilet.
They probably fell.
Yeah.
from
They
not-
died-
They
died
did
from
not
the
work
last
on their
upper
toilet
body
ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
from having
think-
like obstructed bowels and
Oh.
yeah,
Just
something
did
like
not power squeeze hard enough, or power squeeze and prolapsed and died.
that.
Maybe
Prolapsed
this
anus.
ghost on the other side was reaching up trying to get some toilet paper,
Yeah.
and then you accidentally dropped yourself into or onto the hand.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
That
here.
all tracks, yeah.
All right. So one key figure is the Akamanto, which is the red cloak, a ghost who appears in the bathroom stalls and asks if you want red paper or blue paper.
Oh, that's
Choosing
nice.
either.
And then one
Yeah.
of them lets you see the Matrix.
Yeah.
The other one does it.
Another one just lets you
Please,
go back
I
and live
only-
your normal life.
Please, I only need one ply.
Yeah. See, spare a square. Is this what the ghost is saying?
I want neither. Give me a bidet.
All right. This
Is
a
that why the
ghost who-
Japanese have bidets?
Yes.
It's because of this
It's
ghost.
to ward off the toilet ghosts.
They no
It's all
longer have a
making
problem
sense now.
with the Akamantos.
Yeah.
All right, so this ghost appears in the bathroom stalls and asks if you want red paper or blue paper. Choosing either option results in death. Fun. Wow,
It's not a great
so-
option. Why even offer? Can you say no thanks? Does that result
Wrong
in
choice,
not death?
bitch.
So here's the
Trick
if you
question.
go out of there, you take no toilet paper and you just go out of there with a poopy bum. That's what gets you to live.
So get this. The Akamanto is a parable about facing impossible choices, fear, and unresolved death. So this toilet spirit is a parable about impossible choices.
Like, do I give this thing paper or do I ignore it forever and pretend
So-
I never saw it?
Kojima is now making so much more sense. I'm just of where this.
Well, he's reaching up and he's asking for paper. He literally, I got a gif of this, and he's saying, "Please, paper," or "Paper,
So
please."
he's asking for paper, not
He's
offering
asking for
it.
paper. Yeah.
So if you offer him red or blue paper, what happens? If
He
you
dies.
offer the toilet ghost paper, what happens?
I missed this side
Uno
quest.
reverse
You flip-
card.
you
he
flip the
dies.
script. Yeah, you play an Uno reverse card and you say, "How about you take the toilet paper, bitch?"
No,
This takes glory hole to a whole
Please.
nother
Yeah.
level.
I just
forgot how
one
creepy the
square.
animation was. Just
Yeah,
that.
this is Elaine Bennis asking for just one square
Oh man.
and being
I-
refused.
I think Silent Hill 2 was so heavily influenced by this game in so many different ways, but they saw this hand just reaching out of the toilet and they're like, let's imagine what's on the other end of that. And so they make your character in Silent Hill 2
Oh my gosh,
reach his
that's how
hand
you.
into the
That's
toilet.
how you get the clock thing.
That's how you get the
is-
clock piece from
Yeah.
Clocktown.
Just like
From
Clocktown, it's
Clocktown.
all connected.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking
Oh.
into the other world. What is the other world called in Silent Hill? The
Termino.
Silent Hill
Thank you for the
Other-
gasp, Tucker. I appreciate that.
It's just called the other world.
Yeah, the other world.
That's
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
where you got
Unreal.
You
the
rearrange
Other
the
world.
words in the letters in the other world, you get Termino, which is like
Ooh.
Termina.
Well,
If you rearrange the letters in Peru, you spell Europe.
you actually don't. Well, you have to rearrange them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is
All
beginning
right.
to make a lot more sense.
Yep. So this is what's his name on Silent Hill?
James?
James.
James.
This is
This is
Sunderland.
James.
Yeah.
James
You stick your
Sunderland's
hand deep into that toilet. You come
Way
out
up
on the
there.
way up there. I don't remember a movie where Tom Hanks has poison ivy up his ass. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
She's got
Way
mail.
up there.
He doesn't have poison ivy up his ass. Oh, yes, he does. Way up there.
I love the idea though that the hand that you're seeing is an alternate dimension Leon Sunderland. He's just or not Leon,
James Sunderland.
James Sunderland.
Yeah.
He looks a lot like Leon from Resident Evil.
He does. He's like the Timu
Yeah.
Leon. Yeah.
He's like the Timu Leon. He's discount Leon. But I love the idea that hand reaching up is from another world, and when you give him toilet paper, then James has what he needs on the other side. The games are connected. It's a shared universe. Gonna do MCU movies about it next.
Okay,
Well,
so ghost toilets. Let's move on.
I was gonna say I have a bunch of quick fire facts now. Do we want to end off with some fun quick fire fun facts about Majora's Mask?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm getting sleepy.
Yeah. I wanna
Unless
see if
we
there's-
have more toilet ghost things we want to talk about.
There might be things like the toilet ghost. Let's see.
I feel very enlightened now.
Yeah, I feel like this toilet ghost content needs to be put at the beginning of the episode to really hook the audience.
Really good. They'd be like, I thought this was about Zelda. They really went hard on the toilet ghost thing right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
We do
And
get
Psycho
sponsored
Pimps.
by a bidet company.
Toilet ghost and psycho pimps. You only get
That-
the very best content when you
That
come
needs
here.
to be just as the description is just psycho
Toilet
pimps
ghosts and
toilet
psycho
ghosts.
pimps.
Yeah.
I want to point out that we really redeemed ourselves in the second half here.
We're gonna when we get the viewership, we're gonna see which ones are more popular. I don't know. We had a lot of good stuff in the first one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really lulled. Like we did not bring our A game. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up sort of like an interesting thought, like about this game and how I feel like this game bought the Zelda franchise creative license. Yeah, we had Link's Awakening also. Which one came first? It was Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening
for
came
sure.
first.
But this was
actually I don't know. Hang on, let me.
That came out before. That was pre Game Boy Color, and this was 2000s. This game came out in 2000.
I think Link's Awakening was 97,
93.
93.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Way
93
off.
because it was not Game Boy.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
yep.
the original Game Boy.
Yep.
Yeah. So but that wasn't like as mainline as the N64, obviously. But I'm just saying that like it feels like this game, like earned for the franchise the staple of bold creative license, in a way that moved beyond even what Link's Awakening had done, because before that it was like a cookie cutter dungeon crawler hero's journey, and now this like earned it the title of creative license. We can and will do whatever the shit we want, and it did that for like another decade or two, and that's what I feel like we're missing now. We still do bold. It still does bold creative mechanics, but it's lost its bold creative design language that it had earned with Majora's Mask, and that's the spirit that I miss of because my favorite entry I think is arguably Wind Waker, because it also carried on that legend of bold creativity. It was so far outside of the realm of anything they had done before, and it was controversial at first, and then it became cult classic. Twilight Princess, again, divisive, and then cult classic, and they just kept doing nonsense like that, and
Yeah,
I miss that spirit.
Yeah, I feel like that formula started to fail them a little bit with Skyward Sword, which is a game that I really enjoy, but is a game with a lot of friction.
Because of the
And
mechanics, though. But
because of the mechanics, yeah.
But
I love the
design.
story and the atmosphere, and the design of Skyward Sword is second to none. It's top notch, really incredible stuff. So I think but that kind of spurred them towards the direction of Breath of the Wild. So I do kind of miss that classic spirit of Zelda. And I agree with you. I think that Majora's Mask was at the beginning of a time in gaming where big studios could afford to be more creative with their IPs and do interesting things. And we just don't see a lot of that anymore. People crank out cookie cutter things. They don't take as many creative risks because video games cost so much more to make time-wise and money-wise that they used to, that studios aren't as interested in taking risks. They want just guaranteed big returns. And so they make a different Assassin's Creed game every year that gets slowly more and more stale every time. And so
what
it's
I
interesting to see Zelda take mechanic risks, but the design risks not. So I see what you're saying, Shan, and I do miss some of that spirit of old school Zelda.
I'm no executive. I'm not going to get my way. But what I want to see is like the Insomniac formula where they did a spin-off with Miles Morales that was like 10 hours long and they could try something new with a new character. It was technically, and they just like reused a bunch of assets, but
and
like
they cranked it out fast. It only took them like 2.5 years to develop. Yeah.
But like if studios could just like say, this isn't a full game. We know that we're setting expectations that way. It's not going to cost the same as a full game, but we're going to do experimental thing while we focus on our next IP just to kind of juice the budget to keep us afloat. And it allows us to try something a little bit new. And if it works, we're going to maybe spin off a new IP while we, do something over here as well. Like, I want them to kind of think, in the let's create new IP in the AA budget realm while they still crank out their AAA budget franchises.
Well, I think that's what made like Orange Box so successful, is you have some serious cult classics that came from that, with Half-Life and Portal probably being the two most notable.
Portal in particular was like a weird kind of a dark horse that just sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it was a super short game that was on a thing that cost, I think, $15, and then blew up.
No, I think Portal is a great example of that because it was built off of existing Half-Life 2 stuff. It was originally like a Half-Life 2 mod, and they kind of just kept tweaking it until it became its own thing. But yeah, Portal 1 is like 2-ish hours long. It's super short. So it's like, I love the idea of big studios like, let's make something small. We won't make it quite as big, and we can make it faster. We can try some new ideas that we might not want to test out on our big heavy hitters. But yeah, I think I'd love that.
Yeah, it's that sweet space where they have the budget to go a little bit past most indie games, but then
but they're not trying to make a 50-hour epic. They're just
That way they're not just like one failure away from closing a studio. Looking at you, Microsoft.
Turning into EA. All right. Fun facts. Are we ready for them?
Hit me.
All right. So
fun facts.
These are in no particular order and are
what if I want them in a particular order?
Well, it's too bad. I don't have them in a particular. I'll do them in random order. Yeah. So, first of all, there's been several different versions of Majora's Mask. The two primary ones being for the N64 and the 3DS. There were quite a lot of changes made to the 3DS version that I didn't really realize the first time I played. And actually, the 3DS version is the one that I played again for this playthrough because I'm very, very familiar with the N64 one. And I was like, I've only played through the 3DS one, I think, like once. And so I was like, I'll do it again just to see. And I think it gets a lot more hate than it deserves. It changed some things that weren't great, but
I just think the design is too cutesy for the tone. That's all I feel.
Yeah, the visual design is a little too cutesy for the tone. It's a little too bright, but so they changed some things like the boss mechanics have been changed. Some for the better a little bit, some for the worse. I think the Adalwa fight is better. The Twin Mold fight is better mechanically, but too long. So some things there. Swimming was made quite a bit worse. For the Zora, you have to use magic to swim quickly. That sucks. The water skipping was made slower. They shuffled around some of the locations for some of the items and masks. Nothing too crazy, but little things here and there. And and they added several fishing ponds, which is kind of fun. I like the fishing ponds. I thought that was a fun addition. I always liked the fishing pond in Ocarina of Time, and I think there's 2, maybe 3 of them in the 3DS version of Majora's Mask, so that was fun. And 2 other fun facts about the fishing ponds while we're talking about it. Fun fact number 1 is you can catch a fish called Lord Chabu Chabu, or Chapu Chapu, and it's just like a smaller version of Lord Jabu Jabu, which I thought was adorable. And I was like, maybe that's the Termina counterpart to Lord Jabu Jabu. He's just hanging out in a fish pond. And also, the fish ponds are the only other place outside of boss arenas where you can wear the Fierce Deity mask. So in the 3DS version, if you want to wear it, you can just put on the Fierce Deity mask and go fishing. So that's fun. Also, in the laundry pool, there are several rupees, red 20 rupees behind the grate underwater on the first day. If you come back on the second day, the flow of water has pushed them into a place where you can obtain them. But then on the third day, if you don't collect them, they're pushed even farther behind the other grate and you can't get them again. So someone drops some rupees in there and they're flowing through the water over the course of the days. Just another fun example of how things change slightly as the days go on. Gibdos won't latch on to you if you walk really slowly. And they also won't latch on to you if you are a Deku Scrub or a Goron. Probably because they had different character models that would have required different kind of animation. But they will latch onto you as Zora Link because his character model is very similar to Adult Link. So here's the other thing that I said the Bremen mask was good for. If you wear the Bremen mask and march around near Gibdos, that counts as moving slowly and they won't attack you. So
oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
March around with the Bremen mask, the Gibdos won't touch you, and you can jam out to a cool little song. So just like in Ocarina of Time, you can do the butterfly on a Deku stick trick in this game as well. If you hold out a Deku stick and you let a butterfly land on it, it'll turn into a fairy that you can catch. In development, they originally planned to have an Adult Link mask, but was cut because they couldn't find a good use for it. Because when you eventually get the Fierce Deity mask, you kind of become an adult anyways. And Zora Link's serves a similar purpose to Adult Link that they couldn't figure out a way to make just a normal Adult Link mask work. So that was scrapped. If you play this is like the most obvious one that everybody knows, but you can play the Song of Time in several different ways to do several different things. If you play the Song of Time backwards, it will slow the flow of time. If you play it again, you can speed it back up to normal. If you play each note twice, the Song of Double Time, you can skip forward in 6-hour increments, or on the 3DS, you can skip forward to any time that you'd like. So fun little ways to use the Song of Time to your advantage. The Song of Healing will heal signs. If a sign has been cut, similar to an Ocarina of Time, if you played Zelda's Lullaby, it would put the sign back together. But if you do, the Song of Healing is what does that in Majora's Mask. There is a man in Termina Field climbing a tree trying to reach some rupees near the observatory. If you roll into that tree, the man will fall down and hurt his leg and explain to you that he got the rupees from a bird in the field, which is probably that big dumb bird that steals your stuff all the time. Equipment in the back of the bomb shop on the 3DS version looks like a giant GameCube. So that's a fun little Easter egg. Looking at the Skull Kid from the observatory on day 1, he does that thing where he like looks up at the moon tear lands, and then he dances around and shakes his bum at you, indicating that Skull Kid is still kind of being Skull Kid. But if you go back to the observatory and you look at Skull Kid on top of the clock tower on the 3rd day, he just stands there and stares directly at the observatory, just making unbroken eye contact while he twitches in an unsettling way, indicating that the mask is more fully imposing his will on Skull Kid by the time the 3rd day rolls around, and that it's the Skull Kid isn't really in there anymore. It's mostly just Majora's Mask kind of taking control. Deku flowers protect you from fall damage. This is hinted at the very beginning of the game. When you first fall into Termina, Link takes a very, very long tumble and lands on a Deku flower completely unharmed. And that works in gameplay as well. If you jump super high and land on a Deku flower, no fall damage. The Gerudo Pirate Guards have a smaller vision cone if it's nighttime. So if it's nighttime, you can get a little closer to them. It's a little easier to sneak around. They can't see quite as far. Goron's Lullaby will put any Goron to sleep. If you go stand next to a Goron and play Goron's Lullaby, it'll put him to sleep. So not just the giant one, invisible one that confused Shan. If you play the Oath of the Order without rescuing all of the giants, so if you go to the end of the game and you've only rescued 1 to 3 of the giants, but not all 4 of them, if you go do the final battle, like you're going to go fight Skull Kid, you summon all of the giants, but you haven't done all of the dungeons, you get a special cutscene where however many giants you've saved will come and they try to stop the moon. And it gives you an extra, I think 2 minutes, 1 minute or 2 minutes before the moon crashes into the earth, but then they ultimately fail and the moon crashes into the earth anyway. So didn't know that. That's super cool. You can find Majora's Mask on a wall in A Link Between Worlds. In Link's house, in A Link Between Worlds, there's Majora's Mask is just sitting on his wall. The Garrow mask, so the mask that looks like a hooded ninja thing that you use to fight the Garrows in Icona Valley. If you wear that around Redeads, they will dance instead of attacking you. They do like ballerina pirouettes in the Russian where they like squat down and they kick their legs forward. They'll dance instead of attacking you.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, one's
really entertaining.
Super funny.
I thought that was part of the game, but no, that's just optional thing, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes like the Iconic Castle a lot easier. You can just put on the mask and the Redeads in that center room will just leave you alone. So I think most people
that's where I
do
usually do it, but I guess that's optional. Okay.
Let's see. The manager of the Indiegogos mentions that the band is well known for their hit song, The Ballad of the Windfish, which for those of you who know is the famous song played to awaken the windfish in A Link to the Past. But when they actually play the Ballad of the Windfish... Oh, yeah, sorry. Link's Awakening. You're right. But in Majora's Mask, when that band actually plays the Ballad of the Windfish, it's a completely different song. Doesn't share the same tune, just the same name. So
that's good because the Ballad of the Windfish is on a completely dreamed up island. So
so how would that
actually be real?
Yeah. Side note, Ballad of the Windfish in Link's Awakening is one of the best pieces of Zelda music. Just love it. And then as the final fact, when you are transforming into a Deku Scrub for the first time and those Deku Scrubs crowd around Link and the big giant one swallows him, that sequence of the game was inspired by a nightmare that Eiji Aonuma had while developing the game. They were so consumed by development of the game and he was so stressed out by the strict timelines that he had a nightmare about being chased by Deku Scrubs. And they decided to put that in the game as a sequence where you transform. So,
yeah, it sounds like a lot of the symbology, quote unquote, in the game, they were under duress for 1 year straight, and their existential dread that they felt during crunch just sort of manifested itself
really
into
translated
the design
into
of the game. Yeah. And they said that it didn't really mean anything. But if you want to interpret what you want out of the game, go for it. So I think that is very true of how anybody works, is you're just going to, you write
what you know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a coder, if you're a developer, you're just going to sort of angry code. You're going to sort of angry design.
Yeah.
So we can thank them for their nightmares because it gave us this wonderful game.
It weirdly tied in thematically perfectly into this game. Thank you for being so stressed out for 1 year straight.
Yeah. I don't want to say that it was worth it, but it was definitely worth it.
Thank you.
As a person who didn't experience any of that pain, I'm glad that they did it.
Your
Let's
pain
hope
brought
none
us
of you
joy.
got divorced or lost hair.
Yeah,
Well, I
unless
don't care
that
if
would
you
be a
lost
bummer.
hair.
Yeah.
That's what Papisha is for.
All right, well, that's all I've got. That's all I wrote down. I don't have anything else. We did it. We did Majora's Mask. Yay! This was a good one.
Yay
I like
for
this game, you
Majora's
guys.
Mask.
Majora's Mask.
La
I want
Majora.
Majora of it.
How
That's
many
all.
unsubscribes do you think we're gonna get from this? Like one for every Mahora?
No, we're gonna
Mahora,
get 10
then 5.
subscribes. Yeah.
We're
Every
gonna
time
become
someone hears
very
it,
popular in South America.
they're gonna think it's even funnier.
We're gonna see a giant spike in Chile.
I'm gonna have
Believe
to
it
start
or not,
releasing dubs of all
straight
of
to
our
jail.
videos.
Yeah, Venezuela.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. You overpronounce Majora. Straight to jail. Underpronounce, overpronounce.
Charge too much for a sweaters.
Yeah, undercook, overcook. Yeah. All right. So yeah, nobody has anything left to add.
Do the outro.
Thank you for listening to the Sad Ad Games podcast. This has been a sometimes terrible, sometimes fantastic episode of Majora's Mask. And please like, comment, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcast and Spotify and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And, please listen to Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays.
Like, comment, subscribe. Shan's right.
Yeah, whatever.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Outro. Bleepy doof, bleepity bloopity blow.